Now, we're still talking about the growing tension in Nigeria-US relations. Although Donald Trump has spoken repeatedly about how much he loves peace, he's now threatening that Washington might go into Nigeria, as he puts it, guns a-blazing. However, the Nigerian government has refuted the accusations of Trump that it has failed to protect the Christian population from Islamist extremists. Now, Trump has threatened military action against Nigeria if the country fails to act fast to stem the killings. Nigeria has for some time been in those throes of Boko Haram and ISWAP attacks, which have conducted mass killings and kidnappings in rural communities across the north of the country. Both Christians and Muslims have been affected.
Ally in counter-narcotics effort.
So what's the view on the streets? Arise correspondent Punariba Benjamin caught up with some Nigerians in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory.
Yeah. Those people that left here and tell him this is what is happening, this is what happened. He doesn't believe in them. Come and spy these people and see what is happening. Come and plan people here and see what is happening here. In fact, they are killing Christians, they are killing Muslims. Nobody knows who is killing. If you want, if he said it's only Nigerian government responsible for that, I will agree with him.
If he has no work doing, he should please stay clear from Nigerian problem. You see, we Nigerians, personally, I have Christian and Muslim in our own Yoruba community. And this killing, Trump is crying or talking about genocide to the Christians is not so. He's very, very far away from what he's talking. So there's nowhere Christians alone are being killed in Nigeria. Please.
We can't blame him 100%. The reason why we can't blame him is Trump is at a distance. When you don't know much about the country, and the country itself refuses to reveal what is going on, outsiders can say anything.
It's unfortunate that the security challenge we have been having has been long, and the government supposed to have curtailed this thing long ago. But you see, these security challenges keep on taking different shapes, and the military that is managing this thing, the security that is managing this thing, in fact, they always come with a different narrative.
Well, for more on this, let's bring in Ambassador Abdullahi Shehu, former Nigerian ambassador to Russia. Welcome, sir. Now, how would you characterize the diplomatic significance of this CPC designation for Nigeria-US relations as we now stand?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I do not know whether I should characterize it as a significant event. Rather, I will say it's an unfortunate development. However, we must trace our steps. Nigerians have brought Nigeria to where it is. For nearly 30 years, many unpatriotic Nigerians have divulged a deluge of information, particularly to the United States, in order to promote their personal interests and selfish aggrandizement. Some Nigerians, when they feel that things are not going on well for them, they feel that Nigeria should not exist. These same Nigerians will come back to look for Nigeria when the situation has changed. This is where we are. Nigerians have attempted to destroy their country by giving wrong information about their country. What is happening now is a reaction to what some Nigerians have done to Nigeria. The United States did not suddenly take action on its own. It is claiming that it took action based on the information it received from Nigerians and also the calls coming from Nigerians to do what they have done. It is unfortunate that anybody, any rational human being, will even condone any attempt to invade his or her country. Is the last thing that any patriotic citizen can do. And therefore, I sympathize with those who feel that is the best option to take. But nevertheless, Nigerians have shown resilience. You could see how this matter has united Nigerians now on what they should do to protect their country.
Okay, let's look at this narrative, because some people seem to be more concerned with the political convenience of this narrative than the actual stark reality. The fact on ground is that we have a situation where over 16,000 Christians have been killed in 7 years, and we have in the last 7 months we have about 7,000 Christians being killed, and also we have over 6,000 Muslims being killed in the last 7 months. And now, when you look at the international law, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that every individual is entitled to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Now, when you look at this issue, the president of US, Donald Trump, says Nigeria faces an existential threat, and they cannot allow this mass killing to continue. Do you think that this is well substantiated?
Well, I think the US is coming from a wrong perspective. If President Trump or the United States government had issued a statement that they were concerned about the security situation in Nigeria, I think it would have been more plausible, and people would have reasoned with that thought. But the narrative is so simplistic that it's Christian genocide. The way it is Christian as Christian genocide has totally missed the point, because many people are killed. Whether you are a Muslim or Christian, you have been a victim of bad governance. So the simplistic narrative has missed the point, and we should focus on correcting this simplistic narrative. And the reaction also has been missed, where you find divergent views being expressed, some saying, yes, well, only Christians are killed. And some are saying, no, not only Christians are killed. Those who did the assessment should have done a better job by trying to balance and get very empirical evidence of what is happening across Nigeria, not only in one geopolitical zone, but across Nigeria, so that they will give concrete evidence as to the impact of the insecurity in Nigeria, and that would have helped in galvanizing the international community to support Nigeria to overcome the security challenges we are facing.
Right. Now, you have diplomatic experience. You have been in the diplomatic world and served for quite a number of years. Now, can you just speak to the everyday Nigerian person who is maybe on the side of Donald Trump really bringing boots on ground in Nigeria? Can you give a sort of understanding to what you say, to why this should not happen, and also probably touch on what we have learned and seen in history with America invading other countries?
Well, America has invaded other countries and it did not end well. But no two situations are the same. Two major statements in Trump's tweet, that Nigeria is a disgraced country. I want to say that Nigeria is not a disgraced country. Of course, there have been some recent challenges regarding our public policy and democratic processes. That does not mean that Nigeria is disgraced. Nigeria retains the great potential of being a leader in Africa and a voice anywhere in the world. With respect to whether a country will suddenly decide to invade or intervene in another country, the international law is very clear. There are parameters under which intervention can be authorized, not by a single country, but by the United Nations, if possible. I don't think we have reached that stage. Okay, and that takes me to the second point in Trump's tweet that he is coming to Nigeria not to invade Nigeria but to deal with the terrorists. He was referring to the Boko Haram. Therefore, if anybody is coming genuinely to help Nigeria to deal with terrorists, it is fine, but there is a framework of cooperation that we can agree with such intervention.
Okay, let's just put everything in a succinct context now. People are worried that there seems to be a complacency in governance, and they are linking complacency to complicity now. And you also look at a situation where they say that also reflects a failure of governance institution and the refusal or of the government to appoint ambassadors, at least for strategic missions abroad like the US. You were in Russia, and so people believe that we need to own our story because the world is now telling it in a different way that is out of proportion, and now hence the consequence. So what do you make of these two issues, the sense of urgency of the government on one side, and the other side is having the institutional safeguards that will project our story in form of having astute ambassadors in such strategic missions like USA?
Well, let me begin from the reaction both on the side of the government and on the public. When this statement was issued, the presidency and the foreign ministry issued measured statements regarding Nigeria's response.
No, sorry, Your Excellency, let me come in so that we can put it in proper context. People are worried that should we have waited for the U.S. intervention to designate us as a country of particular concern when we know that there is a mass killing going on, regardless of whether it is Christian or Muslim. But the fact is that we are now hearing a narrative that is not that we are not comfortable with. Well, should we have waited?
That is basically where I want to take you to, but just listen to my preamble. My preamble is that we overreact to situations unnecessarily. After the presidency and the foreign ministry issued statements, some other public officials made statements that aggravated the situation. Like I had one special advisor, Daniel Boala, within 48 hours saying that President Tinubu was going to meet with President Trump. Who arranged that? He is not the foreign minister, he's not in the foreign ministry. I think that was misleading. And as a result of that, another advisor came 2 days later to say that no, that was untrue. On the part of the public, you see, this has generated concern and people are discussing. This issue of CPC is not today. In 2018, when President Trump met with late President Buhari in Washington, they discussed cooperation in dealing with terrorism, but also President Trump clearly expressed concern about this so-called genocide in Nigeria. At that time, it was a signal for government to follow up and do something. And as you rightly pointed out, yes, even if something is a flash information, the flash information should have occupied the government to address that matter. But that does not necessarily mean that whatever one step will solve the problems at once. The issue of appointment ambassadors, you are saying, of course, ambassadors would have contributed in managing the situation, but that does not mean that when ambassadors are in post, there will be no crisis. Okay, it all depends. Government has its own priority. Government knows whether it has the resources to send ambassadors out or not. And it's the prerogative of the president to send ambassadors out. Now, if president is operating without ambassadors, he knows why he is operating with ambassadors. But of course, generally, it is encouraged that you have representatives who could have maybe given the proper information to the relevant United States authorities, because as it is, HRJ cannot even ask for appointment with a director of African affairs in the State Department. So I agree with you that it is important and is imperative for Nigeria to have representatives who will actually project their policies and image abroad.
Ambassador, correct me if I'm wrong. These are two separate issues that you've just mentioned in your last point. The CPC designation is just to draw international attention to a crisis that is going on in a country. But what Donald Trump is actually trying to do is to actually invade Nigeria and bring boots on the ground. Those are two different things. Bringing attention, as you rightly mentioned, was done even in President Buhari's time and is now being done again. That is not in dispute. But what is actually in dispute now is the fact that he's trying to take action on this. Now, it is also well known that under the UN Charter, no country can invade another, especially in the area of the internal affairs. A country is supposed to protect its sovereignty and be able to, defend itself with whatever resources it has. And if another country or the international community is to bring in support, then they can do so. So what are the implications for this kind of discussion? Because we seem to be speaking about two different things.
Well, I'm glad to hear that perspective from you, but my understanding is based on the understanding of international law, that you cannot on your own decide to invade another country
Absolutely.
For whatever reason, and that is not justified, and that is the reason why Nigerians are commended for rising against that position, if that is Trump's position indeed. And I can see that that issue has really united Nigerians. With respect to the impact, yes, of course, the United States has assumed the policeman of the world, and being the superpower, such an action has the possibility of isolating Nigeria, the United States isolating Nigeria together with its allies, and that will have negative consequences on our polity and economy.
Okay.
Of course, the United States may decide to deprive Nigeria of certain things or even going to the extent of imposing sanctions, but we don't expect that to happen and we must prepare for it. But the most important impact, in my view, is the possibility that this will create more disharmony in the country. Rather than trying to build unity, trying to build peace in the country, we're trying to create friction between religions and ethnic groups on account of something that affects practically everybody.
Yes.
I think that Nigerians should have been more concerned with demanding for accountability, demanding for good governance, pushing the government to deal with insecurity, to eradicate corruption and manage the economy better.
Because of our timing, I'll quickly squeeze in this. You have been managing a grade A mission abroad by being Nigeria's former ambassador to Russia Federation and concurrent accreditations of Belarus. But when you look at the underlying American reality with an external debt profile of $27 trillion, we have a situation where Nigeria had snubbed a gesture from the U.S. to absorb Venezuelan deportees. And we also have a situation where Nigeria has shown much more economic alliance with China.
And India.
Yes, very good, Yolanda. And so one is wondering what could be the underlying motive of Trump's threats of military action in Nigeria, coming from your vantage point of view?
Well, Nigeria's position is guided by the principle of strategic autonomy. Nigeria is a very long-term traditional partner of the United States and the West in general. But that does not mean that Nigeria cannot relate with other partners in the world, especially where its interests can be well protected and promoted. With respect to our relations with the United States, this will not be an issue that will seriously undermine our relationship with the United States. Rather, it should be a wake-up call to us in Nigeria to fix our problem, to look at our security situation, to look at the way and manner our democracy is being
because of our time. I'm just asking a simple question now. Is this movement, is this threat of military action economically driven by the United States of America?
Well,
we are almost pressed for time.
You cannot overrule that, but you can only speculate because of past experiences. Of course, foreign policy is driven by national interest. It could be that the United States want to take some advantage, economic advantage also.
Ambassador Abdullahi Shehu, Nigeria's former ambassador to Russia Federation and concurrent accreditation to Belarus, and also former Director General of GIABA. Thank you so much for joining us live on Daybreak on Arise News. And that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Gbenga Ashiro. It's goodbye from me.
Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. My name is Yolanda Robert. Goodbye.